Last call of the day, Failure to Stop's last call episode, the episode that gives you something else to talk about this weekend other than dead babies and domestic violence. This might be the time that you've dreamed about since you were a little kid. We might be in the moments where you are going to be forced to be that hero that you pretended to be running around your backyard fighting the terrorists or the cowboys and the Indians, whatever it is that you fantasized about as a young little wannabe warrior. We might be in that day and time where that comes to fruition. Those childhood fantasies become real. We'll talk about that, everything that's going on in Israel. We got Mia Khalifa critical thinking about something other than a big D in her mouth. She's thinking about Palestine and Lebanon. We also got the IDF recalling some of its soldiers back into action. There's a lot going on today. All this and more on today's Failure to Stop last call of the day.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Guns up, giddy up, folks. Last call of the day. Last call of the day. This show couldn't be more important at any other time than today. I'm with Josh from Deadleg Media in Colorado. Real quick, we'll be in Florida 2 weeks. Island Girls Cigar Bar, Ponte Vedra Beach with Ken Shamrock. Kenny from the block, can you smell what the Shamrock is cooking? It's Valor Bare Knuckle Fight Night on the 27th, Friday night in Jacksonville, Florida. Get your tickets now, but on the 26th, we'll all be hanging out at the Island Girls Cigar Bar that evening for a big meetup. We got the guys from we got Drew Breezy coming in from Tampa. We've got you got myself coming in from North Carolina, Deadleg coming in from Colorado, Anti-Hero Podcast, First Responder Coffee Company, First Responder Cigar Company. Everybody's going to be there. Oh, and then we've got Conservative Ant coming up from like Naples area. So lots going on in Jacksonville, Florida. And then the following month, November 11th and 12th, we got some comedy shows kicking off in Albemarle, North Carolina with Vinny Montez, and that'll be with Drew Breezy. And then on Sunday, the 12th of November, Vinny Montez in Raleigh, North Carolina. I will be opening for him, as well as Jay Darrell White will be opening for him. Big First Responder Veterans Day comedy blowout with Vinny Montez. So if you want to get up with us, do so. Also, today's show brought to you by officerprivacy.com. And I'm glad that they are with us, especially in times like these, because I'm not even kidding. I'm not even joking. I'm not trying to be sensational here. I'm not trying to pull you guys into some false hopes. For some of you guys, you do hope for this kind of shit. We fantasize about it. We lay in our beds at night and think about what if this war and this terror comes to my front door, how will I act? I'm not joking with you. I think you're going to get that opportunity sooner than you think. I think that we're just on borrowed time right now. And at any moment that you check the news, shit's going to hit the fan. I don't know where it's going to hit the fan. Tanstradamus Predictions doesn't know where it's going to hit the fan, but I'll tell you this, we're about to be in a full-scale war like we've never seen it before. I really believe that. Maybe, I hope I'm wrong. Gosh, man, I hope we look back at this on Christmas and be like, hey, remember that Tanstradamus prediction back on October 11th when I thought we would be in a full-scale war and I thought something crazy was going to happen and it didn't happen? Listen, I really do hope that my foot is in my mouth come December, but I have an overwhelming feeling that something bad is going to happen. There's a lot of people that are already choosing which side of the fence they stand on. People like Mia Khalifa, people like Black Lives Matter Chicago. We're going to talk about some tweets. We've got people that are drawing lines in the sand. And listen, if you don't think that we are above what happened in Israel, well, I think you're going to be proven wrong here shortly. And that's why it's more important than ever to have officerprivacy.com, so at least people can't easily find your address, that they can't easily find where you go to church, where you go to the gym. Right now, officer privacy is important for everyone who is going to be in these crusades of time. Already, the media is forcing those to choose their stance. They are causing a civil war. War is what big government wants. Big government was ousted for a couple of years under the Trump regime when we had no war, right? We had no new wars. But now big government's back, and Tanstradamus called this. I called this a couple of years ago. You can go back and listen to some of my shows where I said big government's got to come back because big government needs big war, and Trump isn't big government. And I know he's not big government because there are no new wars. That was the only thing that sold me on Trump, was that I found it very, very odd that we had no new wars. And I put a Facebook post out years ago that I said, big government is back, and so will come big wars. We saw the pullout in Afghanistan almost immediately is catastrophic. And I said, they're only pulling out of Afghanistan because they're going to need troops somewhere else. Ukraine popped off. Ukraine's not quite working out. And so now we got to get back to the Middle East. And it's all happening. I'm telling you, there is something to this Tanstradamus. It's all fun and games until I'm right. Listen, officerprivacy.com. Protect yourself right now. Protect yourself right now. Officerprivacy.com/Wolfpack. Have your address removed from the interwebs. Have where you go to church. This doesn't remove you as an influencer. Matter of fact, we're trying to work with them on making one that's called influencerprivacy.com. Because this doesn't stop you from being an influencer. All it does is make it hard for people to find your house. So you're not getting swatted. So you're not getting Molotov cocktailed. Head over to officerprivacy.com/Wolfpack and do it now. Do it today. Do it for a loved one. Protect that fam. We got a lot to cover in the news and not a lot of time to do it. If you want to follow us on Patreon, thank you. Rumble's also up and going. Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. Bumble with an R, because the Ubertubes don't like it. Is the Bumble with an R is up and going. And we've got some people over in the Bumble with an R that are watching us live as well. So thank you to all those over on Bumble with an R. We appreciate you guys. We see you. And for those of you who are on the YouTubes, do me a favor. Do me a favor. It's a free show. We got a Patreon. We got a Patreon that you can pay for. Gives you some bonus content. I just had a podcast with a sex therapist this morning, talking all about sex and first responders, talking about pornography and why so many first responders are so into it right now, and what it's doing to their marriage, and how they can maybe help their marriage. And they may or may not have a porn addiction, what that looks like, and what good communication is. If you like extra content like that, please head over to our Patreon. Also, they've got some corrections officer stuff, some firefighter stuff, lots of content being put out by the 7 or 8 hosts that we now have on this channel. So thank you to all those people who will pay to be on our YouTubes as well. If you'll do us a favor for free, though, for all of you peasants out there that are just watching the show for free, just taking advantage of all the free content, we love that. Just share it. Just share the content. You don't got to tag us in it either if you don't want to. If you want to redo our content and make it your own, and you want to stitch it, as they say, you want to throw a TikTok up there and steal our content, we love that. We love that. We really need that. So we appreciate you and we thank you. And for the 99.9% of you who just listen to the show, you can give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, wherever it is that you're downloading this glorious podcast. We really appreciate it. Nishkin, our buddy from Sweden, just hit us with 65 bones. Thank you. He says, best part with Patreon is all the bonus pics of shirtless Eric dancing. Oh, Nishkin's confusing that with my OnlyFans. He is my one and only subscriber to OnlyFans. It's got me doing a lot of weird stuff with my feet. I didn't say that to the sex therapist today. I didn't want her to judge me. But Nachkin, we really appreciate you, brother, across the pond, as they say. We really appreciate Carly and Big Net in the live chats. Chatting from prison, she says. Last known president, Will Craze up in the chats. Diesel Tech Bosco, Jonathan, we appreciate you guys. Casey Anthony, defense teams also in there. We appreciate you guys. Armory Knight, thank you guys all so much. Let's dive into it today. Let's get started. Let's get ready to rumble. First and foremost, we've got Mia Khalifa. I got to get this out of the way before I jump into the doom and gloom. I got to get this Mia Khalifa bullshit off my mind. Mia Khalifa been having, I mean, she might as well just came out and said Hamas can come over here and terrorize my pussy like a suicide bomber, because she's tweeting like a terrorist right now. She said today in a tweet, well, this is a pen tweet, so I don't think it came out. This was 2 days ago. She says, I just want to make sure. How do you talk like Mia Khalifa? How do I do a Mia Khalifa? Would it sound like this? Make sure. Because only time I've ever heard her talk is when she's got a big D in her mouth. I just want to make sure there's 4K footage of my people. This is Mia Khalifa's people. We're not talking about the people gangbanging her in all of her holes. We're talking about, I guess, her people, the people that would kill her for getting gangbanged in all of her holes here in the colonized United States. So those her people, she just wants to make sure that there's 4K footage of my people breaking down walls of the open air prison they've been forced out of their homes and into, so we have good options for the history books that write about how they freed themselves from apartheid. Please worry about your sad little company lacking direction and purpose before you utter my name again. I stand with all the people fighting oppression now and always. The people that are being oppressed, we'll get to that. We'll get to the people fighting oppression. Now and always, do your research before begging for my investment in your little project. I'm from Lebanon. Look it up. Are you insane for expecting me to be on the side of colonialism, you fucking weirdo? Is it crazy that anybody would think that you would be on the side of being free to take 10 dicks at one time? Is that crazy, Josh?
We were talking right before we started. First of all, problem that I don't have is I don't ever think that I'm gonna have to worry about looking back in life and having someone question my opinion on things, because I habitually had sex with people on film over and 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 over again, and then ratted my opinion off about what I was doing, or take that and the things that I was doing. If I was doing that in the countries that I'm spouting my opinion off about, I might be killed for. So, like, I'm glad I don't have that worry, because I'm not gifted in that area, I guess. But she just needs to shut the fuck up. I just get off Twitter, take your OnlyFans money, take your porn money, just shut up. Go someplace else. Go do art, something else. No one cares. Not only that,
so I guess this all spawns from a text, and I think this is funny. I think it's funny that we're having like some kind of moral, ethical debate with companies and company workers like Mia Khalifa. I listen, you know, like you said, if I'm taking 10 Ds at one time and having somebody spit in my mouth for a living, I don't know if I'm getting on Twitter and popping off to thousands of people about my moral stance. And I probably wouldn't choose to stand with the absolute most oppressive religion and terrorist organization on the planet. But she was talking about a tweet from Red Light Holland, which is a microdosing truffle company. It says, this is what Red Light Holland tweeted. This is such a horrendous tweet. And they were going back because Mia Khalifa was talking about siding with the people of Hamas, celebrating the murder, rape, burning, and pillaging of Israel. Consider yourself fired effective immediately. Simply disgusting. I think it's funny that they think This part is disgusting. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the things that Mia Khalifa does in her videos are kind of disgusting. By the way, a lot of the guys that I worked with back in the day, they'd actually taken a picture of Mia Khalifa's face and put it over my wife's body because they think that my wife and Mia Khalifa look a lot alike in certain ways, which is disturbing as well. Please evolve and become a better human being is what this company says to Mia Khalifa. The fact that you are condoning death, rape, beatings, and hostage taking is truly gross. No words can explain your ignorance. We need humans to come together, especially in the face of tragedy. I pray for you to become a better person. However, it clearly seems like it's too late for you. I love this, pal. This is why I'm a newfound lover of Twitter and X. I just got on it. I guess I was on it back in the old days. I never was really into it. I've just discovered it now, and I can't stay off of it. And the Mia Khalifa stuff, I'm just all into it. She had another tweet. She's been very Twitter active on this whole Palestine thing, this whole Hamas ordeal here. She has a lot to say about it. She is all for Hamas. She is open about it, which is crazy to me. I think she's probably getting paid. I think she's probably getting some of that money to be an influencer for the propaganda machine. We're going to talk a lot about it. There's a lot of propaganda on both sides. And I think there are a lot of people getting paid from both sides, similar to how Pfizer was paying people, paying influencers. She's probably taking money from some kind of Lebanese group, or the Palestine, the PLO. Is that what it is? The PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization. There's a lot of subgroups, Shia subgroups of Palestine. But anyway, she had made another tweet about being a critical thinker in all of this. And I couldn't help but tweet back that why don't you just critically think about what you're good at? And that's putting those D's in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want my porn stars to be porn stars. I don't need political commentary from my Mia Khalifas. That's not what I'm there for. That's not what she influences me to do.
You can take politics, take everything aside. Take all of it, peel it all away. Just look at what happened the last 48 hours. Just look at that, and just look at that isolated incident as what it is. If you're running your mouth to support that, that's all. We're done. We're done. If you're going to support just murdering people at a concert, like, that's a terrorist attack. That's not a war. That's a terrorist attack. And let's not forget that Hamas isn't a government organization. They're an organization of terrorists.
Right.
It's not like we're fighting Canada or fighting Mexico or fighting Guam or something like that. It's just another ISIS group.
Yeah.
So if you want to go out there and portray your intelligence and this and that, go fall on a dick and shut the fuck up.
Go fall on a dick. So Black Lives Matter Chicago. And this is another funny. This is why I'm loving X, guys. I love X. Follow me on X. I'm under Eric Tanzi. I'm on X. I just got on there within like the last couple of weeks. I'm very active on it now, and I'm having a great time. It's helping my comedy routine for November. I'm really getting a lot of good content here. But BLM Chicago, before we move on, Tactical Dudes in the chat says Mia Khalifa is disowned by her country and religion because her first big video was fucking in a hijab with another female and another male. Correct. That's why I think right now there's probably money tied to this in some way. Listen, these people, these terrorist Hamas terrorists people, they don't really have a code or standard, right? They're just, I saw this in Afghanistan. Where the Afghan people who actually loved the military soldiers and who would cry and say, like, we haven't seen this kind of peace in over 30 years. And to be able to walk outside and not be afraid of how long my beard is or how long my short hair, you have no idea what this means to us. But the minute the Hells Angels, the Taliban ride into town with their, 4 camels wide, four motorcycles deep, all of a sudden they're going to rat out all the information on where the Americans are and where they're hiding. They'll flip on a dime because they're always they're it's like they're they have nothing. They come from nothing. And so survival has become their mindset. And the ones who aren't doing the dirty work, the ones that are just simply trying to live, really live this life of shameless cowardness. And that's why they become victims of folks like the Taliban, because they will just sell out immediately. They don't want that fight, which is exactly how I see a lot of Americans today. Unfortunately, we should say fortunately, we haven't come to terms with this yet. We haven't had to. But when the shit hits the fan and the real bad guys are knocking on the door, you're going to have a lot of turncoats. Is that what they're called, Josh? Since you're the fashion turncoats?
Yeah, I think that was what it was back then.
Yeah. Where it was like they're colonists, but they're doing all the spying for the redcoats. Or am I wrong there? I'm not a historian, folks. I'm a C student at best. But what I'm saying is there are going to be a lot of snitches who want them riches. So anyway, I think that she's probably getting money from somewhere in Lebanon to push this propaganda bullshit. And who knows? Is Mia Khalifa coming out with any new porns? I've been out of the porn game in a long time. I got 5 kids now. I don't have time for the porn game anymore. Back in my early 20s, I used to be in the know about this stuff. Is she still producing new shit? That milk's gotta ran dry by now.
The chats were saying she's retired.
Oh, yeah. So now she's retired. If that's true, that would make the most sense. She's retired. She's repented, right? And now she's chasing that money, that Lebanon Hamas money to push some propaganda horse shit. Probably because I don't know. Did she want to go home or something?
I don't know. What's the 401k look like on porn retirement?
I don't know.
Is it better than cop retirement?
I don't know how much does blow go for these days. But Black Lives Matter Chicago, this was another funny one. They posted a picture of a paratrooper with a Palestinian flag flying off of it. Now, it's just a graphic. It's not a real picture. And it just says, I mean, this is terrible graphics. I mean, this isn't even Canva graphics. This is WordPress graphics, clip art at best. I stand with Palestine. So Black Lives Matter Chicago stands with Palestine as well. That makes me just really want to jump up and do this, because here's my thing about this. We're going to move on, but to the propaganda stage of this show. But these folks in Gaza, they're there for a reason, and they act the way they do, and they're treated the way they are for a reason. This isn't Burma, right? Where you just have some warlords trying to hold down some peasants. This is tyrannical dictators with very deep, dark ideologies who want to control human beings and oppress them under the name of religion. If there's any human being out there taking advantage of religion, it's these terrorist cells. That's what I like to call them. These religious organizations like Hamas, like the Islamic State, like North Korea. By the way, I think this is also interesting, is that if you really want to get into the politics, and I'm not going to do that on today's show, maybe we'll get into this on Patreon. If you guys really want to have a strong debate, join us over on Patreon. I'll get into all of this. But Hamas is backed by Hezbollah, and these guys are all Shiites, and they are backing Hezbollah, Hamas. This is all backed by Iran, Syria, North Korea, Russia. Those are all the allies there. Lebanon. They claim to have Nicaragua. I don't even know what the purpose of claiming Nicaragua, if like you just want a numbers thing. But like, does anybody really give a shit about Nicaragua? Like, ooh, you get Nicaragua running with you guys. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure anybody, Taiwan could wipe Nicaragua off the map. These are they're backed by North Korea, Russia. So when you're siding with Hamas and Hezbollah, Mia Khalifa, you're siding with Russia. You're siding with North Korea because that's who they're affiliated with. Those are their allies. That's not an opinion. That's not a theory. That's a fact. So I'd like to see what Mia Khalifa was texting about Russia and Ukraine. And I'd like to see what Black Lives Matter was saying about Russia and Ukraine. And I don't understand, like, why is it a left versus right issue with Hamas and Israel when it makes no sense, because the left was head over heels over Ukraine, but a lot of right people were head over heels of Ukraine too, which kind of brings me into the next segment here is we needed this war. Now, I am not siding with Palestine at all here. This is where Eric Danzig falls, and these are discussions I want you to have over the weekend when you're not talking about the job. And listen, we can have these conversations here. You don't have to agree with me. I encourage you not to agree with me, but try to change my mind. Try to change my mind on this, but this is where my head lies on this after doing so much research in the past year and a half, creating Last Call with Josh here. I'm forced to be in the know, and the more you're in the know, the more I feel like I'm awake. Is people of Hamas are terrible people, and that's why they're in the predicament that they are. They voted Hamas in. They have voted Hamas into Gaza, and this was oppressive laws. These are folks who just want, you want to talk about colonizers. These are people who want to colonize by killing everybody. Literally, they are savages. These guys are like the Indians in Apocalyptico, where they will kidnap other tribes and sacrifice them to the gods. They don't look at life the way that civilized human beings, and we've known that since Alexander the Great. There was a time when they could move around and they were like, yeah, these people are savages. Through history, civilized people have run into savages and have felt the oppression, and they themselves are like, no, you guys have gone wayward in some way or another, but you can't just keep putting your beliefs and forcing your beliefs of rape, murder, pillage, burning, and sacrificing. Instead, adopt our religion. And we try to do that without war. And we try to do that with rules. And we try to do that as civilized as possible, civilized people. Now, we're all animals, right? We all have this animal instinct. That's why war exists. But make no mistake that these terrorists, these Hamas leaders, these Islamic State type folks, ISIS and everything else, which by the way, ISIS and Islamic States are, they don't like Shiites either. They are not friends of Hezbollah, and they're not friends of Hamas. So there's a big fighting there too, and it's very complicated politics. That's why I said I'm not going to get into all of it, but Syria's got a civil war going on. Lebanon's had a civil war going on in this state, but these guys don't think like we think. They don't understand life as we understand life. We're all concerned with our air conditioning and our refrigerators and our smart TVs and our public school children and our 401k. We have a lot of things on our mind. There's only one thing on Hezbollah and Hamas's mind, and that is to G-check everyone around them. Just think of the most insane Karens of all time. You think your HOA is batshit crazy? Go into one of these Taliban, ISIS, Islamic State run countries. You're talking about HOA to the 1000th degree. If your hair's off by a centimeter, you could be stoned. If you're kissing the wrong person, if you're having if you're mixing religions in love and marriage, we're talking violent extremism here. They only think in one way, and that's you will obey or you will die. There's no free thinking. There's no critical thought. So I do not side at all with what's happening in Hamas. Now, what's going or in Gaza and in the West Bank and Israel. Israel has ignored the Gaza Strip now. Since about 2007, we've just kind of pretended like that shit doesn't exist anymore. And we've put a blockade on them because they voted for Hamas. Now, I don't think they voted for Hamas. I think Hamas bullied their way in and gained control over that. But America was trying, even though that America had their hands into that election, Hamas still won because they're backed by Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and the Middle East is a little bit closer. Okay. And if I'm wrong, call me out on this. But they chose, whether they meant to choose it or not, Hamas. And that was a very oppressive, a very headstrong style of totalitarian government. And all they want to do is recapture Israel as a whole. That's it. And they will kill, pillage. They'll do whatever it takes. They're not thinking about 401ks. They're not thinking about their children. They're not thinking about air conditioning. They're thinking about how do we gain control over more people. And that's why the women have to dress a certain way. And even the Jews over in Gaza are uphold to just extreme oppressive laws. And so, yes, the colonizers appear to be a lot more civil and a lot more liberal and want a little bit more freedom. Matter of fact, in Israel, they have a huge gay pride parade. In Tel Aviv, they have a massive gay pride parade. Try to have a gay pride parade in Gaza. Won't happen because you'll be executed. You'll be stoned to death. Matter of fact, if you go on the travel advisory board and you look about what to do if you travel to Gaza, listen, go. I looked into this 2 years ago. Almost made a trip to Israel, doing a little bit of research. Had a buddy of mine who also took a Hamas rocket, punctured a lung while he was over there working with Interpol. Was doing some research about 2 or 3 years ago. The travel board, and you can bring it up if you want, Josh, fact check me. That's what you're here for. It's what you get paid to do is fact check me. But on there, probably the third or fourth thing down for the travel advisory for the Gaza Strip, even 2 years ago, it's got to be there still now to this day. Pull it up if you will. Is it'll tell you that if you get caught in even one of the extreme Orthodox Jewish communities or on the Hamas side of Gaza, if you get caught mixing relationships, if you get caught having some gay kissing going on, it's punishable up to 10 years in prison, but they'll probably be more extreme than that and throw rocks at you, which means you'll get stoned to death.
Did you pull it up?
And
homosexual acts are illegal. Gaza has Islamic law. Take care not to offend Gaza and the West Bank. Avoid public displays of affection. Dress conservatively.
Keep scrolling down. Keep scrolling down to where it talks about punishments of this shit.
Travel, local laws, do not carry. Penalties are severe. You must always carry original copies of your passport. Palestine law has death penalty for some crimes, including treason, helping an enemy, and murder. Gaza has Islamic law. Drinking alcohol, as homosexual acts are illegal. Take care not to offend.
Yeah. There you go. I'm not going to stand on the side of history for the people who treat other people like that. That is the sheer definition of oppression. But also in the same token, as I just said all of that about Hamas, don't think for 1 second that I don't believe that America started this fight and that we don't have our hands all up in it for nefarious purposes. But first, GhostBed is having a flash sale. GhostBed's having a flash sale, 50% off right now. What? How do they stay in business? I don't know. Ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Sleep so good, it's scary. Listen, if Hamas, if some of these Islamic State, if these PLOs or whatever they're called, if they would just get a better night's rest, if they have the freedom that we do, if they had the colonization, the civilization that could afford them something as cool as Ghostbed, how spoiled are we that we have the opportunity to lay on a bed that was thought up by a man that was masterminded right here in the United States and built here in the United States by a man who I've met myself, who is literally taking sleeping and to the next level. This dude lives and breathes sleeping. He has invented so many styles of beds that it is ridiculous. And the passion that his name is Mark. You can look him up on Ghostbed. This dude, they've even teamed up with what's the tennis player? Serena Williams. They've got beds that have interlaced copper fibers in there so that you're getting the healing process. They have gel beds, but then they mixed in the springs for the gel and the springs. They've got, hundreds of different beds. These beds have a fully adjustable basis. You can put these bad boys up into a couch. They have this air-blown massage system that shoots these pockets of airs that massage your back. You can get them to puff the middle of your back up. You can have them sag. It is insane. I went and toured the whole facility with Conservative Ant for our new show, Night Shift, top secret information, Night Shift TSI, which is sponsored by ghostbed.com/Ant, A-N-T for Conservative Ant. And I took Ant over there before he got his big giant deal with Ghostbed. We went down to the facility because we wanted to check it out. He wanted to check it out. I've always wanted to check it out because they've been a loyal sponsor since day one. So we went down there. We checked out the adjustable base. We got to talk to customer service. We got to go to their customer service facility. I specifically asked. I said, every time the Wolfpack orders one of these beds and something doesn't go right, they message me and they say they sent me a topper, a mattress, pillows on top of it. They were so. They said, let's go to the customer service facility right now. Let's go. And so we took a little trip. We left the facility, the manufacturing part side, and we went down to the customer service side. It was insane. I got to shake the hands with all the people on the phones and see why they're so happy. They've got a little gym right across, like literally they could spit on the gym. They're getting some active time to go to the gym. They're running this company much like Google, with a lot of freedom. Everybody kind of wearing what they want to wear, loosey-goosey. What a great business model. We're super proud to be partnered up with Ghostbed. So head over to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack, promo code Wolfpack, get you that 50% off discount. Okay, back to what I think about America's hands in dealing with this. There is no way that you can convince me unless you have evidence and no hearsay or propaganda fed to me by all the influencers that are opening their big fat mouths right now. They really have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Listen, I don't know what I'm talking about either. I just have a sense of, let's say, not so much self-awareness, but common sense awareness of what's going on. Timing is everything.
We were cops. It was our job to sift through bullshit, to find the facts, and get to the next case. We got paid to do this for a living.
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing. We're just doing it on a podcast. It's no different.
Yeah. And timing like this, again, wow. Isn't it divine timing? Divine timing when 2 days ago you've got Biden going before the courts for mishandling classified information. You got your son that you've been accused and funneling millions, tens of millions of dollars now through. Isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting that that the timing now that Ukraine is not going in the direction you wanted it to go, that the biggest wide-scale attack in over 50 years takes place, land, sea, and air? Do you know the coordination against a country like Israel, who has some of the most sophisticated monitoring systems? You remember the Patriot Act and what 9/11 did to the United States with the Patriot Act, and how it just gave free reign for us to enact all sorts of surveillance and spyware all over all of our citizens, our citizens and our politicians? That we got a lot of that from Israel. They have got a very sophisticated system going on over there. So how in the world, right at the peak of election season, when you are down in the polls, when RFK signs your fate, when RFK Jr. says he's going to run independent, and everybody freaks out and says, well, if RFK goes independent, it will split the Democratic Party, and that will be the shot that puts Trump's in. And all of a sudden, now we have a full-scale invasion after on September 11th, you released $6 million. Wait, what was it? $6 billion? Billion dollars back to Iran. I love that fact checkers on this. I'd say, well, we didn't give Iran $6 billion. We released their money back. By the way, that money from Iran, I'm very up with this case. I have been a long time because I'm actually involved in this case and was scheduled to appear at some point in this case for my actions overseas against Iranian-based terrorist groups. But basically, Iran was paying money for Syrian and for Taliban terrorists to do suicide bombings, IEDs, bringing landmines, triple stack landmines and munitions back and forth in Afghanistan. But they had their money tied up in American banks. And so America seized that money. And that money was then, they were suing the Iranians for funneling that money into terrorist organizations. And if we won that suit, that $6 billion was supposed to go to Gold Star families who lost their loved ones at the hands of the terrorist organizations that were funded through this Iranian $6 billion. So in a trade deal on September 11th, again, timing is everything. On 9/11, we released these prisoners, plus we released the $6 billion back to Iran. I love the argument here that says, well, Iran didn't just get the $6 billion, that it's, they just have access to it or whatnot. Listen, if I've got food stamps, if I've got welfare and my rent's good to go, that makes it easier for me to go out and gangbang. That makes it easier for me to go out and commit crimes. That's why I've always said, if you're affiliated with a gang, you should not be privy to those, to the help of the government, because they'll never get off of it. They want to be in the gangs. They want to deal drugs on the street because it's not about the money. It's about the power. And it's about what they've earned. This goes for Hells Angels, everybody else too. Motorcycle Mongols, all those things. If you're wrapped up in one of these stupid gangs, you should not be able to have the freedoms to do that. And the way a lot of these guys do that is because their rent is paid for, because they're not keeping the money from the drugs. That's going back to the gang. They're paying their dues. If these guys had a lot of money, they wouldn't be living in trap houses, for fuck's sakes. They wouldn't be renting cars and driving around in cars. They front it like they've got a lot of money, and they front it like they got nice cars. Those nice cars are rentals. Okay. All right. So now Iran basically has welfare and food stamps thanks to the United States. And so they're able to put their efforts. They know that that's paid for. They got the $6 billion for that. So now they can fund this war in Israel. So my point here is that America needed this war. Big government needed this going into the election cycle. I really believe that it is a Democrat thing. I think it's not just Democrat, though. I think it is a conservative. I think it's big government. I think the Republicans and the Democrats, obviously, birds of a feather flock together, right? They're all this one. That's all the bird, right? The left is the left wing and the right is the right wing, but it's all the same fucking bird. Okay, these guys, big government. When I say big government, that's what I mean. The established government as we know it now, the corrupted government, the ruling elite. That's who I mean there. The ruling government, they have to have big war. That's why I made that Facebook post 3 years ago, right before Biden made office. And the only reason I backed Trump was because there was no new wars while he was in, which means that he is somewhat against the establishment. And he was working with Saudi Arabia, which big government made that look bad. But you know what? Saudi Arabia backs Hamas. So now where do we stand with Saudi Arabia? See, what happened was that I think Trump understood that if we start working with people and distracting the people and having open hands of kindness, that maybe we can wear them down. But we're not about that. We want to be at war with these folks. We want Hamas to stay oppressive. We want Saudi Arabia to stay oppressive. We want the power struggle. We want the Middle East. We've always wanted it. Call it a crusade, whatever you want. So big government right now caused this war. I really feel like you can't. The timing is too perfect. You think Hamas gives a fuck about our election season? You think Hamas is focused on they probably don't even know what Mexico is. You listening right now, give me 3 borders of the Gaza Strip right now. And what bodies of water, without Googling it, border the Gaza Strip. Give me the waterways that border the West Bank. Tell me which part of Israel is Israel and which part is Palestine, quote unquote. Tel Aviv, Bethlehem, Jerusalem. Which ones are controlled by who? You don't know. Most of you have no idea. You don't even know the geography of the situation.
I hope add to your that the government is involved by asking questions, and we'll go ahead and make the assumption that our government has some of the greatest intelligence gathering capabilities known to man on the face of this globe. We can go ahead and assume that compared with everybody else on the face of the globe, we're up there. So either we really, really, really suck at our jobs, or we know this and we let it happen.
And that's where I'm going with this. Look at Gaza, Hamas, people of Gaza. They've got so much shit going on that I guarantee you they don't know what borders the United States. They probably don't know that Canada is that close. They probably don't know how to pick out California, maybe California.
I bet you.
But we think here as Americans, a spoiled, colonized country, that that the world revolves around the United States. It really doesn't. I used to explain to my interpreters what Florida was.
I'm willing to bet that Hamas has a more of a understanding of our open border policies than when we're aware of, because of the millions of people that have come across the border. I don't have the numbers up specifically in front of me right now, but there's more than 10,000, 20,000 people that have been on watch lists that have come across the border that we have still in the United States that are unaccounted for right now in the United States. Tens of thousands of people in the United States that are on a watch list, and we don't know where they're at, and they're in this country right now. So if you think that our intelligence community was aware or didn't know what was going to happen a couple days ago, the writing's on the wall. And I don't want to give too much of the next thing that we're going to lead into ahead of time, but you need to be aware of what's going on, cognitively and just acutely aware of what's going on in the world, because it's going to be on our front door before you know it.
Well, I think it's already on our front door. We can bring up this next article, Josh, that you already have pulled up here. This is Hamas doing a call to action. This is from Reuters. Former Hamas chief calls for protest neighbors to join war against Israel. Josh, go ahead and read that post for us really fast.
We must head to the squares and the streets of Arab and Islamic world on Friday. From Mazal, I can't pronounce his name, who currently leads Hamas' office, said in a recorded statement sent to Reuters. So on Friday, he's calling for all of Arab and Islamic followers to go to the squares of the world.
Yeah. Listen, if the propaganda machine really gave a fuck, this wouldn't get out. See, the propaganda machine wants this to happen because we want this war. We're about that war, baby. We're not anti-war. If you are a political affiliate of the left or the right, do not tell me that you are anti-war, because you're not. Because you're not anti-war. Big government has to have big war. It's always had big war. And the only time that big government didn't have war was when somebody that wasn't big government and somebody who has a different mindset, I'm not going to say was the greatest of mindsets of all time, but somebody who thought differently than big government, there was automatically no war. And that's why I say the inner city stays the way the inner city is because we want to keep it. We want Southside Chicago to be Southside Chicago. We could fix South Chicago tomorrow. You could fix it tomorrow. You could send in the National Guard. You could send in the police, and you could enforce rule in Southeast Chicago. You could flood the schools with law enforcement officers. You could put down the iron fist and say, no, you're going to pay attention in school. There's going to be rules to follow. And if you're expelled, you are going to go home and you're going to sit home and you're going to wear this bracelet. If you break these rules and if you shoot people, you're going to go to jail. There's going to be consequences. You are going to act like civilized human beings. You are not going to act like Hamas animals here in Southside Chicago. I know you want to. I know you want to just do whatever the fuck you want and rebel against everybody and be an animal and be an asshole. But you're not going to do it. We could fix that shit today, but we don't fix it because we want it that way. I don't know why. I don't know why we want it that way, but that's what we want. That's why we don't fix it. Big government wants this war, but in the same token, those folks, the Hamas folks, were definitely going to do this at some point. We just allowed them the backing. It's like the Gretchen Whitmer case. We allowed this to happen. We probably helped put the gears in turn. But in the same token that I say our government probably started this war or allowed this war to happen, as just like I believe that we allowed 9/11 to happen, we had to have it. There's way more evidence showing that we wanted something like that to happen to get involved. The Bush administration, all of the Bushes have been trying to make that happen for so long, and it's just not by coincidence that they were able to get it on 9/11 while Bush was the president. It's not a coincidence. Timing is everything. But in my same token, I have seen that those folks are not civilized. And those folks absolutely are oppressive. And they do need to be dealt with. They really do. But they are brainwashed. And some of them you cannot fix because blood is on their mind and you are going to just have to kill them. And we here in a first world country can't fathom that. We can't understand that.
I give you an example, and this wasn't I didn't personally see this. I read this one on Twitter, but I've seen similar cases. This was early, I believe it was 05 or 06, 07. It was early in the Iraq invasion. They, a couple of Marines went out on a mission to help rescue this child and bring it back because this was supposedly an attack and got hurt her hand and stuff. So that they went out and rescued this kid, and this kid had mangled hand and had fingers that were blown off and fingers had been ripped from the hand, and arm was all mangled up, obvious trauma, and it had all been all kinds of craziness had happened. Well, they brought her back to the base and they brought her with the father and everything. Well, the next morning, they get mortared. And they don't, no one gets hurt and nothing happens. But what happened is the night before, the father took his daughter and ripped her fingers off to cause that trauma, to get the Marines to come out so he could come on base, so he could get intelligence to know where to drop the mortars the next day. That's the kind of people that we're dealing with. That's the kind of savage human beings that we're dealing with. Those are the people that will take the fingers off of their own flesh and blood to go kill other humans. That's the type of people that we're dealing with.
Absolutely right. And you're absolutely right. And so now that our government, our big government has caused us war, what does it mean for us? And what do I mean by when I opened up the show with this is that point in history where a lot of you guys, your childhood fantasies are about to come true. You better start carrying your gat everywhere you go. Open carry it, whatever the laws in your area tell you to do. Start doing it now. Start doing it right now because the world's going to need you. Put that flashlight in your pocket. Put that knife in your pocket. every single day, right here. Got the knife, got the flashlight, got the gun, and carry it with you wherever you go. The tourniquet, because this is coming here. This is coming to our streets, folks. Black Lives Matter is already getting around it. They're starting to back it. They're starting to tweet. People like Mia Khalifa, they're starting to tweet. They are siding with evil. Good and evil are now colliding together worldwide. We are in a world war. World War III has officially started. It has started. And if you're denying that, then you're already behind the curve. World War III has started. And it is going to come here to the United States. I don't know where. Tanstradamus predictions aren't that strong. But I bet you it'll be somewhere close to Southside Chicago. Bet you it'll be somewhere close to DC. Have you seen DC lately? Have you seen DC lately? Have you seen all the cops on all the intersections? Have you seen what threat level Washington, D.C. is at? Why? Why is it like that? I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to be a sensationalist here, guys. I'm trying to be a realist here. And I'm telling you, if you want to be a protector, if you want to be a hero, if when you were a kid, you ran around playing cowboys and Indians and trying to protect the women and the children from whatever was coming their way. Again, I stand on the side of history that isn't openly calling for the rape, murder, and torture of innocent civilians. Unfortunately, I have to choose one side of history beyond. I just happen to be on the side of history that a couple of civilians are getting caught up in some bomb runs that are strategically necessary to end what's called a war. There's nothing good about war. That's terrible. I don't not condone it, though. Bad things have to happen in war, but I'm not going to back the side of history that's going to go out and openly kill civilians and kidnap them and use them as hostages. That's not what side of history I want to be on. And so therefore I have to side on this, since my government, since Israel or whoever, since they started this shit. And this is where it comes back to ideologies and fun. I fundamentally believe that we've started all of these wars. I think we started the Ukraine war, and I think we started this war, just like I think we started the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war. What did Iraq have to do with 9/11? I don't know, but somehow we all got duped really quick into thinking, now listen, again, I'm still going to fight on our side because we did fight a nasty dictator who was a lot more tyrannical and he was a lot more oppressive. But listen, the government could have just told me that. They could have just shown me what Saddam Hussein was doing. They could have let me meet people like Hamidi Jassem who tell me what that tyrant was doing to them and how they live their life. And I would have volunteered still to go over there and try to fix that shit. But we were lied to, and some kind of others, we were lied to and bamboozled into starting a war for nefarious purposes. And right now, the same thing has happened, but I have to side on the side that is not hiding behind women and children and kidnapping women and children and putting them in the universities where we're also launching our mortars and rocket attacks from. I'm not going to side with them. And so when I choose right now to go out into public, I'm choosing to go out armed from head to toe, spiritually, physically armed, and mentally armed. I'm mentally prepared. I'm wargaming. I was wargaming all night last night. I'm trying to stay out of the big cities. I'm trying to stay out of the big cities. Why? Because I don't know which big city it's going to be, guys. I don't know if it's going to be New York. I don't know if it's going to be Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know. But they're here. They're here. They're tweeting about it right now. They're tweeting about it. Syrians are here. Do you remember a couple of years ago when matter of fact, the terrorist whisperer that I mentioned earlier, Hamidi Jassem, when Al Soleimani was killed? I forgot the other guy. It was Al Soleimani and I forgot who else it was. But when they were assassinated by our government, rightfully so. But all of a sudden, there started to be tweets on the tweeters and on the Facebook pages, all in a different language, about retaliation. And Hamidi Jassim started going through all of these, and he found that there were 2 Syrian pilots training on jets in Pensacola, Florida, on our F-15s. And they were tweeting in their language about what they were going to do and how they were going to get retribution. And they were arrested here in the United States. So they are here. That's not a conspiracy theory. They are here. 200 and something were arrested at the border last week in one day.
We've had
I
years.
believe they were
borders.
Lebanese. What's that?
We've had years of open borders. Not only that, I'll show you videos from New York as recent as this past week. They're not women and children. They're military-aged men. Guess what the fuck you're going to be fighting? Military-aged men. Guess what came across on paragliders? Military-aged men. Guess what's going to be in your grocery stores fighting you? Military-aged men. The writing is on the wall.
Don't be so obtuse to think that exactly what happened over in Israel cannot happen here. We have mosques used as training facilities in Virginia. We literally have militias who set up camp and bought land across from it to keep them in check because the government was allowing it to happen. These guys are running around in hijabs with AK-47s, and they have their own legal Muslim militia because this is the United States and you're allowed to be free. But you know what else is great about the United States? So we got a whole bunch of fucking rednecks that don't have a lot of time and have a lot of money from construction businesses and paving businesses and all sorts of other blue collar businesses that blew up that decided, no, we're going to go buy land across the street and keep them in check since our government won't. There are people here in the United States, and this is the point of today's episode, and this is what I'm telling you right now. Please don't look at me as a wackadoodle. I'm not a wackadoodle. I'm telling you right now, I hope I'm wrong by December. I hope I'm made a fool. I hope I'm embarrassed about the speech that I'm giving right now, but I really believe that I'd rather be ready than not. And I don't know. I'll tell you what, if it happens in Raleigh and I'm there, thank God I was there because I'm prepared. I'd hate to be the guy that says, shit, I didn't think this was going to happen in Raleigh. I'm not fucking prepared. Shit, I didn't think this was going to happen in Stanton, Pennsylvania, and Scranton, Pennsylvania. But damn, it did. I'm glad I'm ready for it. I didn't think this was going to happen in Canton, which I think is in Ohio, or Nashville, or wherever it is. Virginia, D.C.,
Atlanta,
Jacksonville, Miami,
Oklahoma
Siesta
City,
Key.
Boise.
Yes, Michael August in the chat. Thanks for helping me out. It was al-Baghdadi and al-Soleimani. Matter of fact, the man who killed al-Baghdadi, I'm not going to out his name here. I'll go with his first name, Kelly. Actually, the patch he wore the day that he breached the door that ended the life of al-Soleimani, where he al-Baghdadi, where he blew himself up. That patch is hanging on my wall at my distillery. The breacher patch that started that whole thing is hanging. It's very special to me. I'm really appreciate it. But Michael Hendricks says Canton, Ohio, blah. I'm guessing, well, then don't pack in Canton. Let it happen. I'm just kidding.
Football Hall of Fame there, I think.
What's that?
I think the Football Hall of
it
Fame
is
there if you're into that thing. I'm not into that.
Is it football? Yes. Canton, Ohio, the football, baseball. Either way, I want you guys, if you're part of the Wolf Pack, please get ready yourself. Have a plan. Let's be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. If you're going out, have a plan. Know your exits. What are you going to do? Do you have tools? Do you have an extra tourniquet? Now's the time. The procrastination time is over, folks. It really, really is. If there's ever a time that you need to have a supply for each of your kids, that if you have a go bag for your kids, take the afternoon. You won't regret it. If you really love your family, don't be a lazy fuck. Make those go bags tonight. I'm talking something simple. Knives for everybody, cotton balls wrapped in Vaseline, shoved in a pill bottle so that you can have easy fire access. And you can light fires very easy and it's waterproof. Have some sweaters, have some pants, some matches. Get you something as easy as a fork and a spoon in the end times is going to be huge. And be ready to go. Be ready to get out of Dodge. I don't know what's going to happen. I know not all that may be coming, but be it what it will, I'll go to it smiling. That's from Moby Dick.
That's another good one. Check on your med supplies.
Yeah, go get some medicines. Get your fever medicines, cold reducers.
Like me, make sure you got medicines for the next 2, 3, as long as you far out in advance as you can get.
and have a
That's
plan where
my-
you're going to go. How are you going to get your family together when there's no cell phone service and your kids
What's
are
the
at
plan?
school? Do they know you're coming?
Do
And
you
you're
know how to
stuck in
work
all
a
that
map?
traffic. Do they know how long to wait for you to come? Do you have a plan of what your kids should do? How are you going to get to your kids quicker than everybody else when this happens?
Do you know how to do land nav?
Do you know how to have rally points?
Gotta
Let me hit the
master.
chats really quick. Michael Hendricks says, I recommend that folks get seriously proficient in shooting, not at static indoor range, outdoor dynamic, with a good instructor. If you're newer, tons of drills online you can use to help yourself. Diesel Jack Radio says CB radios.
It's a good one.
Donnie versus Lefty. We have code words.
Also a good one.
Thank you, Tansy. You're welcome. Head over to last call and we'll do like a little poll or something about what techniques or tricks, one sentence tricks that we may not have thought of, are you taking with you in your bailout bag? My favorite in my go bag are the matches in the pill bottle with Vaseline balls, because Vaseline balls will burn forever and they make great fires. And you can't have enough of them. They're in every single one of my kids' go bags, because I think fire is one of your biggest assets in the end times. But I think more importantly, that communication is always the king, and therefore you have to have open lines of communications. We have walkie-talkies in our house that are always fully charged, and we have a plan. When my kids go somewhere, and if you're sending your kids out with your relatives and your loved ones, call your loved ones and say, listen, if shit hits the fan, I'm coming to you. If I'm not there in 3 days, you go here. Who are you going with? It's the old Gatwa in the military. Where you're going, who's going with you, others going with you, time you'll be gone, and actions on contact, you and me. Those are all great things to go over. But start doing that now, and don't forget your ghost bed pillows. Thank you, last known president. Really appreciate that.
Will Gray wanted to shout out to all of the wolf pack in Minnesota. He said, the hell with the other 49 states, but everybody in Minnesota that's a wolf pack member.
Isn't Minnesota ran by some kind of crazy Muslim chick? Who's that? Or is that Minnesota?
I think she's Minnesota. Whitmore,
or is that Montana?
Well, she's Whitmore's, or she. I think she's Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. Friday. That's the call to action right now. It's Friday. I would not. I would err on the side of caution. If I had kids, my kids would stay next to me all day on Friday. I'm not even fucking kidding. Ilhan Omar. That's right. I'm not even kidding. Call me crazy. I think it's so funny. Disney made that Trolls movie. There's nothing wrong with being the troll that goes underground to an extent, to be reasonable. But if right now you're like, nothing's going to happen, probably not. Probably not. But is it plausible? And is the timing perfect? Yeah. I'm not chancing. Do you, boo. Do you, boo. I'm telling you, have a good plan. Have an idea of how you're going to get away from work. I don't like this call to action. I don't like the tone, the beating of the war drums right now. I'm not comfortable with it. I think we're at I think we're at a turning point in history, to be very honest with you. I have seen the war drums beat before. I've been to war. I'm getting those vibes now. The hairs on my neck are sticking up. The hairs on my arms are sticking up. And I'm feeling the war vibes. And I think it's different. I think it's different this time than it was last time. And I think that the powers that be are more able and capable than they ever were on 9/11. The communication lines are open more now than they've ever been. And you're like, well, no, they're not, because the Patriot Act and, we're hacking all these things. Really? We're hacking things? Not doing that great of a job at it, folks. Not if a land, sea, and air attack just happened in Israel, which is one of the most close-knit, highly secured areas on the fucking planet. And they were able to do a full-scale invasion. By the way, pretty rad stuff. Red Dawn action with the old hang glider thing.
Side note, terrorism aside, kind of cool.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. And
cool.
The only thing that's different about the United States is that we've got a lot of badass rednecks. We got a lot of badass veterans. We got a lot of dudes who are free to carry and to open carry, and we have guys who just don't give a fuck, who are going to carry anyway because We're not going to get caught. So who cares? And we're not going to use our weapons for anything other than for good and evil. So we're willing to take that chance. And I'd rather be, judged by 6, judged by 12 than carried off by 6, whatever the terminology is there. Be that guy. This is that time that this is the day and age. What was the saying there, Josh? It says, never be ashamed of raising dragon slayers in a time when there's actually dragons. When you kind of felt that special weird way when you watched Power Rangers and then you went outside and you started karate chopping the branches and you had this whole fantasy that you were going to grow up to maybe be selected like one of those teenagers. I'm telling you right now, this is your audition is coming. Are you going to show up with the skills necessary to be that hero? Or are you going to be running like all the other ones because you don't have what it takes mentally, physically, because you don't have what it takes to do the Lord's work here at home? So let me leave you with this. Do not pick the side of the oppressors for the history books, but also fully understand that we are all going to war because of a whole bunch of rich men north of Richmond got us into it. Don't be so naive to think that this is some kind of just cause. I'm always about freeing the oppressed, and I got no problem going to Gaza or going anywhere to clean up savage behavior. I have no problem going to Chicago to fix that. If I was so called to be there, I would go and I would try to fix Southside Chicago. I would try to take back Portland, try to take back Seattle. Got no problem with freeing the oppressed. You think the people of Southside Chicago, the civilians, you think they want to be terrorized by the terrorists that live in Southside Chicago that are out running and gunning with each other? The people that can't afford to get out of there but still want to live in peace. You think it's their fault? That's what's happening in Gaza. Not everybody wanted that way, but that was what brought on them. And so I do empathize with them and I do feel bad for them, but in no way, listen, they were complicit in allowing Hamas to be voted in. Just like we're complicit in getting where we're at and voting the way we're at now. We're complicit in World War III because we all didn't do enough. We didn't vote enough. We didn't stand up enough. We didn't tweet enough. We ignored the politics. We're not political. We're cops. We're not political enough. That same complacency that's gotten us where we're at, they've just been living under that same complacency in a third world country. And look where it's got them. And if you don't think that can't happen here, well, take a look where we're at now, guys. Go back 12 years ago. This is insanity that we're even having these conversations. We've come a very long way. No, I should say we've lost a lot of ground in 12 years. In 12 years, we have lost a lot of ground. We went from USA to now we have our own people in our own country siding with radical, disgusting terrorists. And we also have rich men north of Richland starting yet another bullshit war, and all of us civilians are just fucking K with it. We're all tolerating it day in and day out. And if this isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is. I'm not talking about this show. What I'm talking about, if what's going on right now in Gaza and Israel is not a wake-up call, then you are asleep and you will just be whatever the government tells you to be for the rest of your fucking life. And that's sad. You can go take 10 or 12 dicks like Mia Khalifa and go have your political opinions that nobody will take seriously. Start studying now. Start figuring it out now. Start being proactive now. Start figuring out how to be a good cop when the world goes to shit now. Start trying to figure out where your lines are going to go and how far is the government going to use you when all out war breaks out here, when the terrorists hit on Friday. when this shit hits the fan on Monday, on Tuesday, whenever this shit hits the fan, and we go to creating radical rules and laws that are not constitutional, where's your line in the sand? Are you going to fall for that bullshit again where you're like, Patriot Act, yeah, under the name of freedom, I'm going to give up freedom to maintain my freedom? Or are you going to be like, I'm a constitutionalist and I'm going to fight things and I'm going to be literally a critical thinker and I'm going to critical think my way before I start emotionally reacting to shit? Because that's what's going to happen. That was Operation Northwood. That's not a conspiracy theory. Go look it up. Operation Northwood was literally a planned out war on our own home soil to cause emotional reactions to go to war with Cuba and with Russia. Do not allow the emotions and the propaganda machine making you angry. I get angry when I see fucking kids with their heads cut off. And I am angry that there are people who will fucking do that. But I also know that my government is starting the shit. And I can hate both at the same time. Which means I need you to share this podcast out to the best of your ability, because there's no way that the powers that be are going to allow this one to be a banger in the hangar. There's no way they're going to allow it. So please share this. It's very simple. Please hit the like button, hit the comment button. If there's ever a time for you to give me a 5-star rating and review, please do it. Please do it today. It's free. You can be the housewife. You could be the first responder of the family. Doesn't matter. If you're hearing this, share it. But hit that 5-star rating and review and like it, because we're going to be silenced even more now more than ever. They don't want you talking about the machine. They don't want you talking against the machine. That's why we're going to Bumble with an R. And it's sad that we all have to do this. Bone Cold Fleas Austin 316 puts the Israel and the American flag up. I'm for it. I'm absolutely on the side of Israel on this. 100% I'm on the side of Israel with this. But I also know that my government more likely than not started it. That my government wanted this to happen. And they are causing a world war because they absolutely need it to distract us, to bring us back, to reset, going back. They need this world war to reset us all back into the mindset to obey. Government will take care of you guys. When the world's falling to crap, America, we're going to take care of you. Government's going to take care of you. That's what's going on here, guys. And that, listen, I'm okay with that. If you got to have a reset, if you got to do, but I think we're smart enough at this point that you should probably just tell us that's what you're doing. I think you could sell it a different way. Innocent people don't have to die. You could easily say, we've got to fix Gaza. These are the tyrants. These are the rules. And we'll start making sanctions. You loosen up on these rules. Stop oppressing women. Stop oppressing gays. Stop oppressing whatever. And we'll let you be a part of a civilized society. But you have to be somewhat civilized. We have to make sanctions, and we have to work our way into civilizing them. Instead, what we do is allow them to do something like this for us to then be extremely mad at them, and then we bomb the fuck out of them. And innocent people on both sides are going to suffer from all of this, all in the name. It's all accomplishing the same goal. It's just you're doing it in an evil way. Share this out. Share it out with a friend. Head over to Red Pill Threads. Get you a really cool shirt. Kill Crew Hillary Clinton. I'll stand up for you and let you see the shirt. I love this shirt. Look at this thing. Oh. If that doesn't give you a Benghazi boner, I don't know what will. I don't know what will.
Kicking in the morning.
Last thing. Boycott Mia Khalifa. No more jerking off to Mia Khalifa. Done. It's over. Unless you want to jerk it to a terrorist. But can I have one more, Eric? Can I just have one more? I just want to say goodbye. No. It's over. You're done. No. Slap yourself, choke yourself, jerk off alone, but no more. You don't get to jerk off to Mia Khalifa anymore. She has given up that right for you to jerk off to her. She forfeited that right when she made those stupid tweets today. She forfeited the right for you to be able to jerk off to her. She's canceled. Murph 530 says, nice haircut. It's still a mullet, just a little bit shorter. I'll let it grow out over the when I wanted it to be at a perfect length for our meetup in Jacksonville, Florida in 2 weeks. So I cut it now so that it can be just perfect at its best in 2 weeks. Murphy30 says her eyebrows suck anyway. Yeah. Last known president says she doesn't deserve another boner. No, she doesn't. She doesn't deserve not a Christian boner, not a Jewish boner. She can have those uncirced terrorist boners all day long. She forfeited those rights. Good on her. From myself and Dead Leg Media, until next time, guys, guns up. Seriously, guns up and giddy up.